3 years ago, Derek finally got what he had been working toward for half a decade, a promotion. Senior Software Architect. His salary jumped from $92,000 to $128,000 a year, a 39% raise, large enough to feel transformative. Derek remembers the moment clearly. He was sitting in a glass conference room on the 14th floor. His manager smiled and said the words everyone waits to hear. "You've earned this." In Derek's mind, a single thought landed immediately. This is it. This is when everything changes. He believed this raise meant comfort, that he would finally relax, finally save real money, finally stop living paycheck to paycheck like he had since college. That moment felt like crossing an invisible finish line, as if the hard part of life was officially over. Fast forward 3 years, Derek didn't stop at that promotion. He received another raise on top of it. Today, Derek earns $141,000 a year. In just 36 months, his income increased by 53%. On paper, this is a textbook success story. Career progression, strong income growth, everything moving in the right direction. But something strange is happening. When Derek opens his banking app, he sees something that doesn't add up. He has less money in savings than he did before the promotion. Not less than he hoped for, less than when he was making $92,000. Even more unsettling, he feels more anxious about money now. He checks his balance more often. He worries more frequently. The sense of financial pressure hasn't disappeared. It has intensified. Derek works the same hours as before. He earns dramatically more, yet it feels like he's running faster just to stay in place. The hamster wheel didn't stop. It sped up. This is where the real problem begins to reveal itself. Not a lack of income, not reckless spending. Derek's life didn't get richer, it got more expensive, quietly, gradually, almost invisibly. This is why the story starts here, because this isn't a story about failing with money. It's a story about succeeding and still ending up trapped. Derek does not have a spending problem in the way most people imagine one. He isn't buying luxury watches. He isn't leasing sports cars. He isn't chasing status symbols or posting a flashy life online. What Derek did was far more subtle and far more common. He made reasonable upgrades. He moved into a nicer apartment in a better neighborhood. The cost increase felt manageable, about $800 more per month. He upgraded his car to match his new title. Nothing extravagant, just $350 more per month. He switched gyms, from a $30 budget gym to a premium gym near his office, now paying $160 per month. He started eating slightly better food, wearing slightly better clothes, choosing slightly nicer options in everyday life. Each decision made sense in isolation. Each one felt earned. Each one felt like a natural reward for working harder and advancing. None of these choices felt irresponsible. There was no single moment where Derek thought, "This is too much." That is exactly why lifestyle inflation is so dangerous. It doesn't arrive as a big mistake. It arrives as a series of small, logical decisions. Taken together, those decisions quietly consumed every dollar of his raise, and then some. Derek did not get richer. He got more expensive. The cruel part is not the spending itself. It's what the spending did to his future. Derek now needs his higher salary just to stand still, not to build wealth, not to create freedom, just to maintain a lifestyle he does not make him meaningfully happier than his old one. He is trapped at an income level he cannot afford to lose, working to pay for a life he upgraded into without ever consciously choosing it. What felt like progress became obligation. What felt like success became dependency. This is the moment the story widens beyond Derek, because this isn't about one person making bad choices. It's about a system that quietly converts raises into fixed costs. This is why earning more money so often fails to produce financial security, not because people are reckless, but because they are human. They experience upgrades as one-time decisions, but they pay for them as ongoing extractions of time and energy. And almost no one ever calculates what those upgrades actually cost. This is where the concept of lifestyle inflation hourly rate enters the picture, a way to measure, in brutally honest terms, how much of your life you are trading to maintain a lifestyle you barely notice anymore. The core problem with lifestyle inflation is not the spending itself, it is how we think about money. We measure income in annual numbers, salary is framed as a yearly figure, raises are announced as yearly increases, but we experience spending in monthly payments, rent, car payments, subscriptions, memberships. This mismatch is not accidental. It is the mechanism that allows lifestyle inflation to work without resistance. When Derek received a $36,000 raise, it felt enormous. It sounded like transformation, like freedom. But when he upgraded his apartment for an extra $800 per month, it felt small, manageable, almost insignificant relative to his new income. $800 a month doesn't sound threatening on a $128,000 salary. It feels like nothing. Except $800 a month is $9,600 a year. With a single decision, more than a quarter of Derek's raise disappeared. And this is only the surface level of the problem, because money is not the true cost. Time is. To understand what that $800 actually costs, we have to convert it into hours of Derek's life. Derek works a standard schedule, about 2,080 hours a year. At a gross salary of $128,000, that works out to roughly $61.50 per hour, before taxes. But Derek doesn't get to spend gross income. After federal, state, and payroll taxes, his effective take-home pay is closer to $42 per hour. Now the math becomes uncomfortable. That $800 apartment upgrade costs Derek 19.5 hours of after-tax work every single month. Over the course of a year, that is 228 hours, nearly 6 full work weeks. 6 weeks of labor, not to save, not to invest, not to build options or freedom. 6 weeks of work simply to maintain a nicer apartment. An apartment he barely spends waking hours in because he is usually at work paying for it. Derek is not paying $800 per month. He is paying 228 hours of his life every year. And every lifestyle upgrade has a conversion rate like this. Almost no one calculates it before committing. When spending is framed as dollars, it feels abstract. When it is framed as hours, it becomes real. This is the moment where lifestyle inflation stops being a budgeting issue and becomes a life trade issue. Once you see one upgrade in hours, you start seeing all of them. The apartment is not an exception, it is the pattern. The gym membership is not $160 per month. At Derek's after-tax wage, it costs him about 3.8 hours of work every month. Over a year, that is roughly 45 hours, more than a full work week, just to access a nicer treadmill. The car upgrade is not $350 per month. It costs him about 8.3 hours of labor every month. That becomes 100 hours per year, 2.5 full work weeks, to drive a car that takes him to the same places his old car did. Dining out more often, better clothes, subscriptions that quietly accumulated. Each one feels small on its own, none of them trigger alarm. Together, they form something far more serious, a permanent claim on Derek's time. When all of Derek's lifestyle upgrades are added together, the total is staggering. Converted into hours, he is working approximately 480 extra hours per year. That is 12 full work weeks, 3 months of his labor every single year. 3 months not spent building wealth, not spent investing, not spent creating options. 3 months spent maintaining upgrades that stopped feeling special long ago. This is what gross income hides. This is what net worth calculations delay. The lifestyle inflation hourly rate reveals the real exchange rate, the trade between your life and your lifestyle. It shows you something deeply uncomfortable. You are not working full-time for your future. You are working part of the year just to preserve past decisions. And once those decisions are locked in, they become non-negotiable. The rent is due every month. The car payment does not care how you feel about your job. This is why lifestyle inflation feels like pressure instead of pleasure. The upgrades don't add freedom, they remove it. They raise the minimum income you need to survive your own life. At this point, Derek is no longer working to get ahead. He is working to avoid falling behind. At this point, most people think they understand the damage. More spending equals more hours worked. Uncomfortable, but manageable. What almost no one accounts for is taxes, because taxes break the simple math. You do not earn $1 and get to spend $1. You earn $1, the government takes its share first, and only then do you get what remains. This means every dollar of lifestyle inflation requires more than $1 of income to support it. This is the hidden multiplier. In Derek's case, his lifestyle upgrades total about $20,400 per year after tax. That is the money leaving his account. But to have $20,400 available to spend, Derek must earn far more than that in gross income. Once federal, state, and payroll taxes are applied, that $20,400 requires roughly $31,000 in pre-tax earnings. This is the moment the picture becomes disturbing. Derek's total raise over 3 years was about $49,000 per year. Lifestyle inflation alone consumed roughly 63% of that increase before considering higher taxes on the remaining income, before any real wealth building. The raise didn't disappear, it was absorbed. This is what can be called the lifestyle creep multiplier. Every dollar of lifestyle inflation costs more than $1 of income because you must earn the gross amount required to produce the net amount you spend. In Derek's case, his lifestyle upgrades total about $2,580 in gross monthly earnings to sustain. That difference is not abstract. It is extra hours of pre-tax labor, more time, more dependence on the job. This is why raises feel hollow so quickly. They arrive in large annual numbers. They are consumed through small monthly commitments. Once those commitments are locked in, the raise becomes mandatory, not optional, not empowering. Derek does not feel wealthier because his higher income is already spoken for. It belongs to his lifestyle before it belongs to him.
This is the moment where lifestyle inflation stops being a comfort issue and becomes a structural trap. Up to this point, the damage looks painful but contained. A few hundred hours here, a few $1,000s there. The real cost of lifestyle inflation only becomes visible when you extend the timeline. Years matter. Decades change everything. Consider a simplified but realistic career path. Someone starts working at 25 years old. They earn $50,000 a year. Their baseline lifestyle costs about $36,000 per year after taxes. They live modestly. They save and invest roughly $8,000 annually. They receive average raises of about 3% per year. Not exceptional, not disastrous, historically normal. After 40 years, by age 65, their income reaches about $163,000 in nominal terms. Now imagine two versions of this same person. Same intelligence, same work ethic, same career. The only difference is how they handle raises. In the first path, lifestyle stays mostly flat, adjusted only for inflation, no automatic upgrades. By retirement, their annual spending is about $73,000. Their savings rate has expanded naturally. They are now saving close to $50,000 per year without feeling deprived. Invested consistently over 40 years at a real return of around 7%, their total accumulated wealth is approximately $3.8 million. This is the uninflated path. Now consider the second path, the one most people follow without realizing it. Every raise triggers a partial upgrade, a nicer apartment at $60,000, a better car at $75,000, premium services as income rises. Each upgrade feels reasonable, none feel excessive. By age 65, lifestyle spending has reached about $126,000 per year, instead of $73,000. That extra $53,000 is not luxury, it is accumulated lifestyle inflation. Despite income nearly tripling, savings never meaningfully increased. The gap between income and lifestyle never widened. Total accumulated wealth in this path is about $900,000, less than 1/4 of the uninflated version. The difference between the two lives is roughly $2.9 million. That number represents more than money. It represents years of freedom never purchased, options never created. It represents an additional decade of work, not because the person failed, but because lifestyle quietly kept pace with income. This is the compounding effect of lifestyle inflation. Small decisions multiplied across time become irreversible outcomes. At this point, a reasonable objection usually appears that lifestyle upgrades are the point of earning more. Why work harder if you can't live better? Why chase raises if comfort is off limits? This argument feels true because it is partially true. No one is suggesting that every upgrade is a mistake. The real problem is not upgrading, it is upgrading automatically. The psychological mechanism behind this is well documented. Behavioral economists call it hedonic adaptation. Humans rapidly adjust to improvements in their circumstances. What once felt exciting becomes normal. Derek loved his new apartment, briefly, for about 3 months. After that, it stopped registering as an upgrade. It became the baseline. The emotional boost disappeared, but the $800 monthly payment remained. Derek is now paying 228 hours per year to maintain a neutral emotional state, the same emotional baseline he had in his old apartment. This is the cruelest part of lifestyle inflation. The pleasure is temporary, the obligation is permanent. Every upgrade adds to your fixed monthly burden, and fixed costs do not fade with novelty. Over time, your life becomes more expensive without becoming more meaningful. You work the same hours, you feel roughly the same, but your margin for error shrinks, your ability to walk away declines. The hedonic treadmill merges with the financial treadmill. They form a single machine. That machine converts raises into obligations faster than you can perceive it happening. This is why people often feel stuck at higher incomes. They didn't lose discipline, they gained commitments. Derek is not enjoying a higher quality life, he is maintaining one, and maintenance requires constant effort. At this stage, the concept is clear. Lifestyle inflation is real, it is costly, and it compounds quietly. The next step is turning awareness into measurement, because what you do not measure, you cannot control. The lifestyle inflation hourly rate is a simple but confronting calculation. It forces clarity. Start by listing every lifestyle upgrade you have made over the past few years. Apartment changes, car upgrades, gym memberships, subscriptions, dining habits, clothing and convenience spending. Focus only on the difference, what you spend now beyond your baseline lifestyle. Add up the total monthly cost of those upgrades. This number is often higher than expected. Multiply that monthly total by 12. This gives you your annual lifestyle inflation. Now take your actual after-tax hourly wage, not your salary, not your gross hourly rate. Divide the annual lifestyle inflation by your after-tax hourly wage. The result is the number of hours per year you work exclusively to fund lifestyle upgrades. For Derek, this number was approximately 486 hours per year. That is not theoretical. It is 12 full work weeks, 3 months of his life. This calculation changes how expenses feel. A subscription is no longer $15. It is 20 minutes of your life every month. A $100 monthly upgrade is no longer small. At a $35 after-tax wage, it is 34 hours per year. When spending is translated into time, the abstraction disappears. You are no longer deciding with money, you are deciding with your life. Most people never run this calculation, which is why most people feel stuck without understanding why. This is the moment where lifestyle inflation stops being invisible and becomes undeniable. Once you know your lifestyle hourly rate, a new question becomes unavoidable. It cuts through rationalizations. The question is simple. Would you work these hours specifically for this one thing? Not in theory, not bundled into your paycheck, in isolation. Would you work 45 hours this year just to access a premium gym? Or would you rather take those hours back and use a basic gym? Would you work 100 hours this year to drive a nicer car? Or would you rather reclaim that time and drive something cheaper? Would you work 6 full weeks every year just to live in a slightly better apartment? Or would you rather have those weeks back for something else? When the trade is framed this way, the answer often becomes obvious, not because the item is bad, but because the exchange rate is finally visible. This reframing bypasses budgeting entirely. It does not ask whether you can afford something, it asks whether you want to trade your life for it. Many upgrades fail this test immediately, not because they are irresponsible, but because they are invisible drains on time and freedom. This is why line item budgeting rarely works. It focuses on money. This focuses on meaning. Once you ask this question consistently, spending decisions change naturally, without guilt, without restriction. You begin choosing deliberately instead of drifting. Lifestyle inflation thrives on autopilot. It collapses under conscious trade-offs. Once you start seeing expenses as hours, reduction stops feeling like sacrifice. It starts feeling like recovery. The goal is not deprivation, it is precision. Selective downgrading means removing costs that no longer earn their keep. Not everything, only the things that fail the hours test. Every $100 in monthly lifestyle inflation you eliminate creates real leverage. At a $35 after-tax hourly wage, that is roughly 34 hours per year. That is almost a full work week from one small change. Downgrading from a $160 gym to a $30 gym reclaims about 44 hours per year. The workout quality may not change much, but your available time does. Moving to an apartment that is $300 cheaper per month reclaims over 100 hours per year. That is nearly 3 full work weeks. Switching to a car with a $200 lower payment gives back around 69 hours per year.
These are not marginal gains, they are weeks of life. Selective downgrading works because it attacks fixed costs. Fixed costs demand your time every month. Reducing them permanently lowers the minimum income your life requires. That is real freedom. Most people focus on earning more to feel free, but freedom often comes faster from needing less. When fixed costs drop, optionality rises. You can save more, invest more, or work less. The irony is that most downgraded items are barely noticed after a short period. Hedonic adaptation works in reverse. You adapt downward quickly, but you keep the time.
Selective reflection is not about going backward. It is about reclaiming control. This is the step that separates high earners from people who actually build wealth. Not how much they make, but what they allow their lifestyle to do when income rises. Most people follow the default path without realizing it. Income goes up, lifestyle follows. The gap between the two never widens, and because of that, neither does freedom. Wealth is built in the gap between what you earn and what you need. If that gap stays small, progress stays slow. When you get a raise, the temptation is immediate. Upgrade the apartment, upgrade the car, upgrade convenience. The deliberate path is different. It pauses before upgrading. It asks one question first. What happens if I don't change my lifestyle at all? If you receive a $10,000 raise, that money does not become $10,000 in your pocket. After taxes, it may be closer to $6,500. But if you protect that $6,500 instead of spending it, something powerful happens. It stops being income. It becomes capital. Invested at a modest 8% annual return, that single year of restraint becomes about $32,000 over 20 years. One decision, one raise. Repeat that process for 10 years. You are looking at roughly $300,000 in additional wealth, not from working harder, but from refusing to let lifestyle inflation close the gap. This is how financial independence is actually built, quietly, incrementally, deliberately. People who reach financial independence do not avoid enjoyment. They delay automatic upgrades. They choose upgrades consciously instead of reflexively. They allow income to rise faster than lifestyle on purpose. That difference compounds into freedom. Eventually, investment income begins replacing earned income. At that point, work becomes optional. Not because income was high, but because lifestyle was kept under control. This is the real power of protecting the gap. It converts raises into choices instead of obligations. At this point, the story comes full circle. What began as a simple promotion has revealed something much deeper. Derek did not fail financially. He succeeded exactly the way the system encourages success. He worked hard, he advanced his career, he accepted the rewards that felt appropriate. And yet he ended up with less. Less savings, less freedom, less ability to walk away. The problem was never his income, it was the invisible trades he made along the way. Every upgrade he accepted without calculation was a decision made in the dark, a commitment of future hours he never consciously agreed to. A subscription here, a nicer apartment there, a slightly better car. Each one seemed harmless. Together, they locked him into a life that required his continued labor just to sustain itself. Derek did not get promoted into prosperity. He got promoted into a more expensive trap.
This is the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. You are not earning your lifestyle. You are trading your life for it, hour by hour, week by week, year by year. The trade rarely feels unfair at the moment it is made because it is framed as money. But when you convert it into time, the imbalance becomes obvious. You give up thousands of hours. You receive comforts you quickly stop noticing. The real cost is not what leaves your bank account. It is what never gets built. The investments never made, the freedom never purchased, the options never created. In a world defined by uncertainty, optionality is the only real security, and lifestyle inflation quietly destroys optionality. The question, then, is not how much you earn, it is how many hours of your life you are willing to trade for things that no longer even register as special. Calculate your lifestyle inflation hourly rate. Look at the number honestly. Then decide consciously, is the trade worth it, or would you rather have your hours back? That choice, repeated over time, is the difference between earning well and living free.